I'd like to start out by congratulating everyone on yet another day of the holy month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us yet another opportunity to use the most out of this month that we're given. Now, there's many different things that we see throughout this month that give us a lot of sawab compared to a normal month. We see that for reading a wajib namaz, we're rewarded 70 times that of a regular namaz. We see that for, even giving somebody a glass of water at iftar time to break their fast, all of your sins are forgiven. It has the same sawab as freeing a person just by giving somebody something as simple as a glass of water. And looking into trying to make the most of this month, we even see, of course, with the Holy Quran, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for reading one verse of the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the same reward as reading the entire Quran. But looking into the Holy Quran, throughout the year, and even in the holy month of Ramadan, we see that it's not always a big factor in our life. A lot of times, the Holy Quran can be seen as more of, a not important factor. It's just something that's there. For example, we know the importance of it in terms of it's the Quran. Some people, of course, we understand it has to be put in a higher spot. You won't put your foot on it. You won't do little things like this. You understand somewhat of an understanding of what the Holy Quran is. And even sometimes, even in this holy month, we try to read part of the Quran. We try to, even reading something like a page, anything during this month, because this is the best of months. We're the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we look at the importance of not only understanding what the Holy Quran is, having even a basic understanding, but at the same time, having it have a pivotal role in our lives. Putting the Quran atop a pedestal. Just like we want our namaz to be something that is, one of our priorities. As in, I'm looking through my schedule, what I have to do today, we're going somewhere, and namaz time comes, namaz time should be something like, okay, this time's namaz time. Or even for Fajr. You should obviously understand, okay, this time's Fajr time. And make that a priority for yourself. Even if you don't wake up, at least, if you don't wake up in terms of on time, at least, you'll have that niyat in your head that you wanted to wake up on time. So, having a pivotal role in our lives, the Quran should, inshallah, be given that spot. And so, looking at the other way, not only, okay, let's say, we think of the basics we can do, but about not using the Quran, about having the Quran stowed away off on a shelf, about the Quran not having any type of role in our lives and kind of thinking of it as something that, you just read during Ramadan. A lot of, you think of the Quran, you think of Ramadan, one of the things you think of is the Quran. The one time you read the Quran, and every other month it's stowed away. And so we have to see about not ignoring the Holy Quran and about the multiple ways that we can see if we're in fact ignoring the Quran, and even looking into what the Prophet, peace be blessings upon him, has said about it and what is mentioned in the Holy Quran. And so we see from Surah Furqan, it says, "The messenger says, O my Lord, behold, my people have taken this Holy Quran as a thing to be shunned." Now, to forlorn, as in to abandon or to shun, it includes that separation, whether it's the separation through our tongue, whether it's separation through, our deeds, whether it's separation through our thoughts in terms of having the Quran, okay, I'm thinking that it's okay, I got to read it, not having it at all, having no connection at all with the Holy Quran. And we know that the Holy Quran should be, a constant factor in our lives. And that's why the term hijr, translated as shunning or ignoring, is used when there's a connection between these two things, between the thing and mankind. So it's between the Holy Quran and between people themselves, and that connection that we have. And looking at the Holy Quran, ignoring the Holy Quran. What is ignoring the Holy Quran? Ignoring the Holy Quran is seeing the Holy Quran and even reading it, but not trying to understand it at all. So, for example, it's just a thing that it's just a physical act. I'm just reading the Quran. It's like a book. We don't have that connection with the Holy Quran, even the connection on a basic level. Not reciting the Holy Quran and preferring anything else to the Holy Quran. Like it becomes a point where we don't want to read the Quran. It becomes such a chore for us, as so many things become chores. Like, say somebody forces you to do something. So if if a kid or something gets forced to, Quran class, and they see the Quran as a negative thing, I wanted to be doing something else, but instead I have to read the Quran. And so they see it as a negative thing, and it's something that they don't want to do. This is ignoring the Quran. This is, showing disrespect towards the Holy Quran. Instead of the Holy Quran, being in that position in our lives, having a pivotal, point in our lives, that our lives sort of revolve around it. And not even revolve around reading it itself. It's not that, just reading the Quran more, but about implementing it, about seeing what I read in the Holy Quran, reading what it's trying to tell us, what the message is trying to tell us. Like, for example, the verse we just read, the messenger says, "O my Lord, behold, my people have taken this Holy Quran as a thing to be shunned or abandoned." So this is something, how do we implement that in our lives? We implement that by taking a look at ourselves, a form of, self-contemplation, thinking to ourselves, what's the role of the Quran in my life? Do I actually care about the Quran? Is the Quran, something that's important to me? Or am I one of those people that the Prophet is talking about? The Prophet is mentioning that, the people who are ignoring the Holy Quran, that we don't see it as something that's extremely important. It's just something that, it's left on our shelf the entire year until Ramadan. And even in the holy month of Ramadan, even then, if nobody can say at all, nobody can realistically say that I've done enough. Today we're on day 5. Nobody can say it, because it's not possible that when you are rewarded for an entire Quran from simply reading one verse, of course we're not making enough of it, because then we should be reading Quran all day. We should be reading Quran all night. If we truly understood the actual value of the Holy Quran, and the value, not that we see it, but the way that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ saw it, the way that he saw it, and he's even telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're not using it the way it's supposed to be used. And seeing a look at ourselves, that having the Holy Quran and reciting it more, trying to implement it into our lives, and trying to carve our lives around it. Spending our lives through the teachings of the Holy Quran, and not to the point where it becomes something that's forced upon us, that the Quran is something that's so hard for us that I've tried to force out 5 minutes of my day to read the Quran, but that it's something that you naturally do, that you're naturally following the teachings of the Holy Quran. Imam Khomeini, may Allah be pleased with him, he showed a form of regret in one of his speeches for not spending his entire life in the way of the Holy Quran. And he even advised the Islamic seminaries, and he advised the students to place the Quran as the highest goal in their lives, to place it as the highest goal. And if they didn't, then the end of their life would be met with regret. And we look at who is, Imam Khomeini, may Allah be pleased with him. One of the, and of course more recent times, one of the, most knowledgeable people. And he's saying that he has regrets. He's saying, it's the way that you see that what that mindset is about how you treat it. You see even with Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali alayhi salam about small things that, Imam Ali alayhi salam is an infallible Imam. Infallible as in he's committed no sin. He's infallible. He's free of all sin. And yet still he's worried. Imam Ali alayhi salam is worried about the opportunities that he missed. Now, what does this have to do with us? Because we're not infallible. So we look at this example and it just draws emphasis. It's to draw emphasis on something. So when Imam Khomeini is telling us, he was saying that even he felt regret about not spending his entire life in the way of Quran, the Holy Quran. We can see for ourselves that, we're not even doing a quarter of that. So if we're even doing, 1% more, we're even doing 1% of what he was doing, then we're making a huge difference, especially in this holy month of Ramadan. Now, looking at ignoring the Holy Quran. Now, how do we get past that? How do we not ignore the Holy Quran? And Imam Reza, peace and blessings be upon him, he stated that the reason we recite the Holy Quran in our daily prayers is to bring the Holy Quran out of the state of being abandoned. The reason why we recite it in our daily prayers. So it's sort of a reset every single day. That we read even in our namaz. Now these are the kind of things that you don't really pay attention to, especially he also said about reading 50 ayats of the Holy Quran every day. And of course, it's all about the intention. So if your intention while reading the Holy Quran is thinking to yourself that, okay, there's this certain number. Think about when you're reading, this is the Holy Quran we're talking about. Even think about when you're just reading a book. When you're thinking to yourself, you're reading a book and you're thinking, I just want to get past this chapter. And you skip a couple pages ahead and you keep skipping the pages ahead to see how long till the next chapter. And then as you're skipping by, it becomes more and more and you're like, oh my gosh, 12 pages. Compared to if you're just reading it, if you're simply just reading and you're trying to get the information from the book that you're reading, then it'll have this sort of flow. It'll just be natural to you. It'll fly by just like that. But instead, it becomes this, burden on you that you're like, oh, another 12 pages. It just makes things harder for you. And so, reading the Holy Quran, not just to get to the end of the surah, but to try to increase your understanding of the Holy Quran. To, use the Quran, to seek refuge in the Quran. Throughout history, the Quran is the past, the Quran is the present, and the Quran is the future. The Quran has everything in it. So contemplating about that and having it that point of our lives that even when whatever problems we have, if we ever, we find ourselves in a bad position, we find ourselves in, the darkness of the night, where do we turn to? We turn to the Holy Quran. We try to, take shelter in the Holy Quran, the wisdom of the Holy Quran, the blessings of the Holy Quran. We try to go towards that. And it says in the Holy Quran, a book we have sent down to thee, blessed that men possessed of minds may ponder its signs and so remember. There's another saying that says, what do they not ponder the Holy Quran? Or is it that there are locks upon their hearts? Now, the Prophet, the way that he is mentioning about this, the way that he's talking about these people that aren't paying attention to the Holy Quran, that have ignored the Holy Quran, that have kept it as a second-rate citizen in their house. Look at the ranking. Think about the ranking of some of the items in our house. What's the highest and what's the lowest? Now, for example, you think in your house, maybe a bed, maybe a TV, maybe a sofa, maybe a computer. In terms of what do you use the most? Maybe your office desk. These are the things you use the most. So, for example, your TV. You're always sitting at the TV. You're always watching the TV. As soon as you wake up in the morning, what do you think about? You think of that TV. While you're at work, you're thinking about, can't wait to get home to that TV. That's all you're thinking about. A new show came out. You can't wait to watch it on that TV. It's all involved. This is what's taking up our mind. What's taking up our thoughts is a couple of specific things. Or even your phone. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you use is that phone. When you go to sleep at night, the first thing you say khudafis to, when you're reading your du'as, you're reading it in front of that phone. Your du'as are towards that phone. So this is what has the priority in our life. And it goes through the rankings. Now look, where is the Holy Quran in that? The Holy Quran is definitely, we don't see it as the number one thing. Not number two, not number three. What list? What is it? Is it connected? Is it, on top of our shelf collecting dust? Is it at the back of the shelf? Maybe we took it out, and then it just gets put right back there. Do you look forward to reading the Holy Quran? Do you feel good reading the Holy Quran? These are all the questions that we have to ask from ourselves in order to get the most out of the month of Ramadan specifically. Of course, we're given so much of an opportunity in this month. We have been given so much by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And let's use it in this holy month. So maybe before the way we acted was a little different towards the Holy Quran. Maybe, astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayh, but we were guilty of ignoring the Holy Quran, of treating it as less than what it really is. But inshallah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawfiq to now make a difference. And so even looking back at the ayah that the Prophet has said, looking back at the verses from the Holy Quran, we can inshallah just use that of what to stay away from. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that ability, that perspective to be able to look through and to be able to, see our faults, see the areas in which we're, not doing what we want to do, the areas where we're not acting 100% according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would like us to do in this holy month, especially in this holy month, so that we can make the most out of it. And there's another saying that says, from Surah An-Nisa, it says, what? Do they not ponder the Holy Quran? If it had been from other than God, surely they would have found in it much inconsistency. The Quran has everything for us. It shows us everything we need to see. It's not a book written by, some author, some knowledgeable author. Somebody who is, he has an understanding of how the world works. He has his own ideas and he's telling it to us. And we can see it and we can see inconsistencies within it and we see, okay, some of it's good, some of it's not. But the Quran is the word of the Creator. The Creator who has created all of us, who has created the heavens, that has created the earth, that has, brought us into this world, that protects us throughout everything. We look at even having this month of Ramadan, we're the guests of that Creator. And so, seeing the Holy Quran, that this is the direct language between the Creator and the creation. This is the direct phone line. If you want to talk to somebody, that's the differences between, and you can bring in with, the advancements in our technology. Imagine, years ago, how would you get in touch with somebody, in a different country? It was so difficult to get in touch with somebody from a different country. You'd have to, it was just a hassle. The phone bill was huge. And then, let's strike maybe 10 years ago. You could use, whatever you wanted to use. It became a little easier then, obviously with Skype and all those things were created. And we even come to now. Something as simple as WhatsApp. Using the calls over the Wi-Fi. FaceTime over Wi-Fi. It's easier than ever before to contact, relatives, even social media networks like Facebook. I mean, just look at Facebook and you can look at people, you'll see it's confusing sometimes. And you'll see people that are across the country and they're all in this exact same place. You're able to access so many different places. And so, using that with the Holy Quran, that seeing even, without the internet, what was it? In order to understand the Holy Quran, if you wanted to see the translation, you have to have a specific Quran to be able to see that translation in your language. You have to see that translation and you have to write it down, look back and forth. But now it's as simple as opening your phone. It's as simple, even people who don't fully understand how to read the Quran. It's as simple as listening to the Quran. It's as simple as opening YouTube and listening to a video of, a professional person, somebody who studies the Quran themselves, somebody who, beautiful recitation of the Quran. They've been reading the Quran their entire lives. Listening to that person read the Quran and having that connection through that. And even, obviously even looking at the translations of the Holy Quran. It's so simple. You can just look online and find it, just like that. Compared to before, when it was a lot harder to do that. And so this is like the landline between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the line. You think it's some difficult thing that to get in touch with the Creator. But the Creator is right there for us. The Creator has already given us the guidelines. The Creator has already told us how to be successful, how to get to the best version of ourselves, to get to that best place, how to pass this test and get to paradise. We already have all that information. Now it's just about implementing it. And if you can look at the one thing that today, on the 5th day of the holy month of Ramadan, that I can look at myself and I can say, well, this is something I did to improve today. This is something to get closer to that goal. That would be to pay more attention to the Quran, to contemplate and to ask questions of ourselves. If the Quran has a significant importance in our life, is the Quran the number one priority? Is it the number two? What position does it have? Are we happy to read the Quran? When we need help, do we turn to the Quran? Looking at these things in the holy month of Ramadan specifically can really help us. And inshallah, we won't be of those people that the Prophet complains about on the Day of Judgment. The people who ignored the Holy Quran. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that ability to pay attention to the Holy Quran and inshallah make the most out of this holy month of Ramadan. Well, that's all the time that I have left for today. Now I'm going to do Allahumma kullu waliyaka for the safety and protection of our 12th Imam. Of course, ignoring the Holy Quran, we don't want to do that. But we also don't want to ignore our 12th Imam, may Allah hasten his appearance, who is our current Imam, the Imam of our time. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyaka al-hujjati ibn al-Hassan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai. في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farjum. Inshallah, the rest of our fasting days go well. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Khuda hafiz. See you next time.